She was born a princess, the daughter of Italy's King Victor Emmanuel III. She grew up amid tradition and privilege, far from the front lines of war. Yet in 1943, as Europe was torn apart, she was arrested by the Nazis and sent to Buchenwald concentration camp. This is the true story of Princess Mafalda of Savoy, a royal court in the darkest chapter of history. Princess Mafalda of Savoy was born on November 19, 1902, in Rome, into the House of Savoy, Italy's historic royal dynasty. She was the second daughter of King Victor Emmanuel III and Queen Elena of Montenegro. As part of the royal household, Mafalda grew up surrounded by formal traditions, official ceremonies, and expectations of public duty, yet she was also known within her family as warm-hearted and approachable. Her childhood unfolded between royal residences in Rome and the summer retreats favored by the Italian court. She received a private education typical for European princesses of the time, focusing on languages, history, religion, and the arts. Teachers and contemporaries described her as intelligent, curious, and especially fond of music and painting. Archival photographs from this period show a poised young girl, later a confident young woman, who balanced her public role as a daughter of the king with a relatively sheltered upbringing. These early years shaped the sense of duty and composure that would mark her adult life, even as Europe moved closer to war. In 1925, at the age of 22, Mafalda married Prince Philip of Hesse, a German nobleman and grandson of Emperor Frederick III of Germany. The union linked two of Europe's old royal houses, Italy's House of Savoy and the House of Hesse, at a time when relations between Italy and Germany were growing closer. Philip joined the National Socialist Party in the early 1930s and served as an envoy between Mussolini's Italy and Hitler's Germany. Mafalda, however, never became involved in politics. She focused on her role as wife and mother, raising 4 children and maintaining a household between Italy and Germany. Contemporary accounts describe her as warm and approachable, often preferring family life to public events. This marriage placed her at the intersection of 2 powerful regimes. It gave her a unique vantage point on the growing alliance between fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, and eventually made her a target when that alliance began to crumble. In September 1943, Italy signed an armistice with the Allied forces. Mussolini's government collapsed, and German troops quickly occupied large parts of Italy. As the daughter of King Victor Emmanuel III, the monarch who had just turned against Germany, Mafalda became politically vulnerable. At that time, she was in Bulgaria, attending the funeral of King Boris III. On her return journey, she received a message to stop in Rome to speak with the German authorities about Red Cross work. Believing it was an official appointment, she complied, but it was a trap. Acting on orders from Heinrich Himmler, the Gestapo arrested her on the 23rd of September 1943. Initially, she was held in Berlin for questioning. Soon after, the Nazis classified her as a special prisoner, a prominent captive to be used as leverage against the Italian royal family. She was sent under guard to Buchenwald concentration camp in Germany, not to a standard barracks, but to a small section reserved for high-profile prisoners. Even so, the conditions were harsh, and she was effectively cut off from her family and the outside world. Upon arrival at Buchenwald, Princess Mafalda was placed in a section reserved for high-profile prisoners, sometimes called the Prominentenlager. While this area was separated from the main barracks, it offered little real protection. Food was scarce, medical care inadequate, and prisoners were constantly under the watchful eyes of the SS. Despite her royal status, Mafalda experienced the fear and uncertainty that marked life in the camp. She kept a dignified composure, yet letters and reports from contemporaries described the anxiety and isolation she endured. Communication with her family was extremely limited, and news from Italy was uncertain. On August 24, 1944, Allied bombing raids targeted areas near Buchenwald. During the attack, Princess Mafalda was severely injured when part of the camp was hit. She suffered injuries that required the amputation of her arm. Though she survived the immediate aftermath, the camp's poor medical conditions and lack of proper treatment would soon prove fatal. Following her injuries from the bombing, Princess Mafalda's condition worsened. The amputation of her arm, combined with inadequate medical care and unsanitary conditions, led to infection. On August 28, 1944, just 4 days after the bombing, she died in Weimar, near Buchenwald, at the age of 41. The Nazis initially concealed the truth from her family, reporting her death vaguely and attributing it to a tragic accident. Her children and husband were left in uncertainty for months, unaware of the exact circumstances. Despite her royal status, Mafalda had become one of the many victims whose lives were cut short by the violence and neglect of the Nazi regime. Her death marked the tragic end of a princess whose life had bridged the worlds of European royalty and the darkest realities of World War II. After the war, Princess Mafalda's story slowly came to light. Her children survived and went on to live largely private lives, carrying the weight of their mother's tragic fate. Her husband, Prince Philip of Hesse, was arrested by the Allies but eventually released. He later lived quietly in Germany. Mafalda's legacy is remembered through monuments, streets, and institutions named in her honor, particularly in Italy and Germany. Historians view her life as a reminder that even members of the highest social ranks were not immune to the brutality of the Nazi regime. Her courage and dignity, maintained in the face of fear and suffering, continue to inspire those who study her story. Today, Princess Mafalda of Savoy is remembered not only as a royal figure, but as a human being caught in extraordinary circumstances, a symbol of resilience, grace, and the tragic human cost of war.